After failing to win over the 3 female leads, I faced complete erasure by the system. The system gave me one last chance. If I could accumulate enough regret points within a single day, I could still return to my own world. So, I asked my A-list actress wife for a divorce. She just sneered, signed without a moment's hesitation, and slammed the papers against my chest. Next, I took the initiative to sever ties with my mother, Susan Miller. She practically jumped with joy, telling me to get the hell out so she could make room for her illegitimate son. Finally, I agreed to my sister's request and signed the organ donation form. She just told me to die quickly so she could have my heart carved out for her first love. A cold mechanical voice echoed in my ears. Host, you have one last chance remaining. Mission failure will result in immediate erasure. I no longer held out any hope. Calmly, I accepted my fate. At the awards ceremony, Caleb Thorne lost Best Actor by a single vote. As the presenter for the evening, Chloe Vance immediately grabbed the microphone, her voice trembling with emotion as she confessed her love to him in front of the whole world. Caleb, in my heart, you will always be the best actor. The entire hall erupted in thunderous applause. The shipping hashtag for Chloe and Caleb shot straight to the top of the trending topics, going viral instantly. I turned off my phone, my heart nothing more than a pool of stagnant water. No matter how hard I tried, my targets would always end up falling for Caleb Thorne, completely and utterly devoted to him. Even though Chloe and I were married, she still had to declare her love for him in front of the entire world. Late that night, Chloe came home. Under the bright lights of the living room, the hickey on her neck was impossible to miss. Seeing me still awake, Chloe said nothing and went straight into the bathroom to shower. When she finally came out, she was surprised to find me still sitting on the sofa. Her eyes flicked to the divorce papers on the coffee table. She flipped through a few pages casually, and a cold sneer formed on her lips. "This is why you'll never be better than Caleb," she said, her voice dripping with disdain. "You're just so petty." Unhesitatingly, she picked up a pen, scrawled her name across the papers, and slammed them down on me. A sharp pain shot through my shoulder, and I winced. "I know you're just playing hard to get." Chloe looked smug. "Ethan, don't think for a second I'm going to beg you to stay. You want a divorce? Fine, you've got it. How does that feel? Happy now? Satisfied?" She burst out laughing. Then, in an instant, her expression shifted. She glared at me with eyes so venomous they looked like they could kill. Truly, an A-list actress. "I bet you won't dare actually go to City Hall and finalize this. When you're done with your little game, get your ass to bed." I gathered the papers and cut her off. "Yes, I'm satisfied. Tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, City Hall. Don't be late." A flicker of surprise crossed Chloe's eyes, quickly replaced by even deeper contempt. "You'd better mean it." She forcefully stubbed out her cigarette in the ashtray and slammed the bedroom door shut. I turned, walked into the guest bedroom, and quietly waited for morning. I was up early. As Chloe was about to head out the door, I called to her. "I already spoke with your assistant. Your morning appearance has been postponed. You promised me we're going to City Hall." Before I could even finish, she threw down her sunglasses, stormed over, and slapped me hard across the face. Her eyes blazed dangerously. "Are you asking for it? How dare you mess with my schedule?" She didn't stop there. Each blow landed harder than the last. I squeezed my eyes shut against the pain. As if suddenly remembering something, Chloe shot a guilty glance at the living room security camera. Then she deliberately shifted, using her body to block the lens, disguising her assault as an intimate embrace to hide the evidence. "Chloe, I won't tell anyone about this. If you don't believe me, you can record me right now." My eyes were bloodshot as I stared at her, forcing myself to concede. She narrowed her gaze, searching my face for any sign of deceit. Just as I was about to pass out, she finally stopped. With a sharp kick, she shoved me back into a chair. Expressionless, she unplugged the camera, pulled out her phone, and started the voice recorder. Clutching my chest, I recited the lines she fed me, personally confessing to all the mistakes I had supposedly made during our marriage. that I was irresponsible, that I fooled around, that from start to finish Chloe was the innocent victim who had never, ever been unfaithful. Now that she had leverage, Chloe was satisfied. For the first time in a long while, she even opened the car door for me. "Let's go." I sat in the back seat. I pretended not to see the man's jacket lying on the passenger seat. Pretended not to smell the cologne that clung to the car. I just stared calmly out the window. I remembered her gentle, beautiful face, the way she used to softly call me husband. She was a natural-born actress. I could never tell which version of her was real. Now she was deeply in love with Caleb. Her affection level for me had plummeted below 10%. I no longer dreamed of us getting back together. It was just too exhausting. "Chloe," I said quietly, "after this we're done. We have nothing to do with each other anymore." She tilted her head, eyes landing on a cute little ornament dangling from the dashboard. A small smile tugged at her lips. "You're right, but first we have to get through this damn mandatory waiting period." There was no need to wait. I would be leaving her forever tonight. There were only 12 hours left on the system's clock. I went to the largest corporation in the state and knocked on the office door of my second target, my own sister. She had taken our mother's last name, while I had taken our father's. Megan Miller wasn't surprised to see me. She'd had a private investigator tailing me. None of my movements escaped her notice. "Got some backbone now, do you?" she said with a knowing smile. Daring to divorce that Vance woman. But her eyes were cold, no warmth at all, only a sinister chill. Both Chloe and I had always been thorns in her side. The doting sister from my memories seemed like a completely different person, as if her soul had been replaced by this paranoid stranger. "Ethan, I'll protect you for your whole life. No one will ever bully you." The vow she made under the old oak tree when we were kids still echoed in my ears. But now, as adults, she had become one of the people who hurt me the most. It all started when Caleb Thorne moved in. He was our mother's illegitimate son. When my father passed away, Caleb's biological father brought him to stay with us for a while. At first, Megan had been just as hostile toward Caleb as I was, shunning both him and his homewrecker father. But as they spent more time together, that glacier of hers slowly began to melt, eventually turning into a warm lake. No matter how many times she pushed him away, Caleb would follow her around, constantly telling her, "You're the best sister ever." Megan's face would turn bright red. She'd quickly avoid my gaze, her voice flustered. Her affection level, at 90%, refused to budge. Then, one day, it dropped by a single percentage point. I later found out why. When I wasn't around, she had started calling him her little brother. She gradually took an interest in his schoolwork, in his life. When someone at school started hitting on Caleb, Megan got into a fight for him. Her eyes were red with fury. Even after being punished with a major demerit, she came home to a tearful Caleb. And when he comforted her, she felt like it was all worth it. After school, Megan was waiting outside my classroom. I was overjoyed, thinking she had come to walk me home. "Megan." All I got in return was a cold, sharp glare. "Don't call me that. I don't have a brother like you." I froze where I stood as my classmates turned to stare. Megan looked down at me, her voice like ice. "You're the one leading the charge to isolate Caleb." "What?" My mind went blank. I repeated the word like an idiot, but Megan had already lost patience. "Since you enjoy being a bully, let's see how you like being bullied for a change." She turned on her heel and headed to the next classroom, Caleb's classroom, leaving me standing there in shock, a horrible dread creeping through me. From that day on, my classmates avoided me like the plague. They mocked me, calling me the son of a homewrecker, to my face and behind my back. I endured constant dirty looks and endless pranks. My homework was ruined, my backpack filled with dead insects, my things stolen or destroyed. To protect Caleb, Megan deliberately reversed our roles. She told everyone he was the true heir while painting me as the illegitimate one. Inside and outside the company, people soon believed it. Caleb's current status in the entertainment industry was built on the Miller family's backing, handed to him because of Megan's schemes. "Megan, what do I have to do for you to just leave me alone?" My voice was flat, lifeless when I asked. But she didn't stop. To keep me from getting in Caleb's way, she sabotaged every job I tried to land. I had no privacy at all. Every detail of my life was under surveillance. I heard you went to the mall today. You walked past Caleb's billboard. Why did you stop to look at it? Don't get any funny ideas about him or you'll regret it. I was exhausted, sick of being watched. Leave you alone? Megan sneered. Then, in a sudden fit, she swept everything off her desk with a crash. When you were bullying Caleb at school, giving him all that trauma, did you ever think about leaving him alone? She walked up to me slowly, hands shoved in her pockets. Her palm touched my cheek. Just a light pat, not too hard, not too soft. Yet her teeth were gritted, her voice trembling with fury. That fire on set. I know you had something to do with it. Sooner or later, I'll find proof. And when I do, I'll personally send you to prison. I smiled faintly, nodded once. Fine. I did it. I was wrong. What will it take for you to forgive me? For a second, Megan's face faltered. A flicker of surprise, unreadable emotion. Then she turned and pulled a folder from her drawer, as if she'd been waiting for this exact moment. On the cover, in bold letters, were the words, "Organ donation consent form." She wanted my heart, literally, for Caleb. "Sign this," she said coldly, "and I'll let the past go." My condition was simple. I won't hurt Caleb, and you will never bother me again. Fine. Megan agreed without hesitation. I signed immediately. Shock flickered across her face, barely visible, but it was there. She watched me leave with a strange, unreadable look in her eyes. "Megan," I said softly, "this is the last time I'll ever call you my sister." She averted her gaze, visibly uncomfortable. If Dad were watching from beyond the grave, what do you think he'd feel, seeing you treat the man who drove him to his death like a father? Her face went pale. For once, she was speechless. But embarrassment soon twisted into rage. "Who are you to lecture me?" she snapped. I turned my back on her anger and walked away. That should count as cutting ties, I thought. A second later, the system chimed. "Affirmative, host. Megan Miller has fired the private investigators. Your freedom has been restored." Now only one person remained. Susan Miller, my mother. At first, I thought winning a parent's love would be easier than winning a lover's. That was why I had chosen Susan as my first target, throwing myself into the role of a dutiful son. But no matter what I did, her affection level never climbed above 50%. Even when I was admitted into a top high school, it only budged to 60. Then Caleb appeared. He didn't have to do a single thing to win her unconditional love. The system even warned me. Susan was the hardest of the three. She wasn't just an irresponsible mother. She was a ruthless businesswoman. In her eyes, there was no emotion, only profit. She had only married my father because my grandparents could help her career. Years later, she became chairwoman of the board, a titan of industry. She looked down on my aging grandparents and discarded my father like trash. Caleb and his mother were just the final insult. When my father learned the truth, his fury triggered a relapse of an old illness. He was bedridden for months before he finally passed. Living under the same roof, Susan treated Caleb and me like we were from different worlds. "Caleb, sweetie, Mommy bought you a new present. Do you like it?" Then her eyes would land on me. "Ethan, what are you standing there for? Go get dinner on the table." I was nothing but a servant in my own home. The mother I once knew, strict but at least loving, was gone. "My Caleb is so handsome, especially when he's all dressed up." "You," she snapped at me. "You should be studying, not wasting time with hair gel. You're not secretly dating someone at school, are you? You're just as worthless as your father deep down." Her words cut me like blades. Caleb's grades were abysmal, but she sent him abroad for a prestigious degree. I, on the other hand, had to pay for college myself with student loans and part-time jobs. She claimed it was to build character. But in truth, she was terrified I'd outshine Caleb. Every time she looked at me, she saw my father. Saw the life she used to live, a life that humiliated her pride. I almost never called her, but she always found a way to interfere. My marriage to Chloe was her arrangement. Caleb is going to be a star, she declared. He needs guidance, and a sister-in-law like her is perfect. As for his future wife, I already have someone in mind. That's not your concern. She waved dismissively, signaling her secretary to escort me out. She couldn't even look me in the eye. Now, when I called, my calls went straight to voicemail. So I stood outside the hospital and sent a single picture to Susan's secretary. A medical report. I had gotten a vasectomy. Her dream of a grandson had just evaporated. Less than 30 minutes later, my hotel room door slammed open. Susan stormed inside, her furious roar echoing down the hall. How could the Miller family produce such a disgraceful son? She seized me by the collar and slapped me hard across the face. Beneath her silver hair, her eyes burned with murderous rage. My vision swam. My cheek felt like it was on fire. That was my grandson, she spat. Who gave you the right to do that? You're unbelievably stupid. You could have used a child to keep Chloe tied to you. She jabbed her finger at me, trembling with rage. I never should have had you. You and your father are both worthless bastards. Her spit hit the floor between us. Then she snatched my suitcase, dumped everything on the bed, and tore the medical report from the pile. Her eyes scanned the text, sharp as knives, every muscle in her jaw twitching. Which hospital did this? I'll make them pay. Susan's fury was volcanic, but beneath it was something else, a gnawing desperation. She was getting older, and the thought of not having a grandchild consumed her. Photos of her friends on Facebook, smiling with 4 generations gathered around them, filled her with bitter envy. She had forced Chloe and me into endless hospital visits for fertility checkups, demanding results, but Chloe never got pregnant. And how could she? Ever since meeting Caleb, Chloe hadn't touched me. Susan knew something was going on between them, but instead of blaming Caleb, she had staged a trap, arranging for Chloe and me to get drunk and locked in a hotel room together. The morning after, Chloe woke up, saw me, and her affection level plummeted to the bottom. You despicable, shameless bastard. I hadn't said a word in my defense, hadn't told her that all night she'd been clinging to me, crying out Caleb's name. Susan, to preserve Caleb's image, put all the blame on me. Chloe and I are divorced. I'm not fit to be your son. I tried to lift myself off the floor, but my body was too weak, heavy as stone. What? The veins on Susan's forehead bulged. She was a step behind Megan in hearing the news. The daughter-in-law she had handpicked, gone. Any mistake could be forgiven, even public shipping with Caleb. But divorce? The bodyguard shoved me hard, and my back slammed into the sharp corner of a table. The pain made me cry out, my body twisting. You could have been part of the Vance family, Susan spat. Now you're just a divorced, disgraced man. What woman will ever want you? Just let me go, I whispered hoarsely. Let me die on my own. Tears blurred my eyes. In that moment, I missed my real mom and dad so much. I reached for them in my mind, desperate, calling for them again and again, but their shadows remained out of reach. Please, just let me die. Seeing my despair didn't soften her, it enraged her further. Fine, I'll grant your wish. Where's the lawyer? Call him. I'm disowning this ungrateful son today. And if you die in a ditch somewhere, don't expect anyone to come collect your body. My vision swam. Pain shredded my body, destroying my consciousness. The edges of my mind dissolved into darkness. Susan's voice grew faint. A tide of exhaustion dragged me under. My eyelids sank shut. Congratulations, host. Phase 1 is complete. You have successfully severed ties with all 3 female leads. You have 6 hours remaining. Regret points are now being calculated. I was still alive, but only as a drifting spirit, watching as if through glass. Phase 1 had triggered my sudden death, speeding the system's plot forward. My 24-hour deadline included the time after death. When it ran out, I would face my true and final end. Ethan, are you listening to me? Stop pretending to be dead. Susan hated being ignored. It was like punching cotton, no resistance, no satisfaction. Her mind flickered to the face of the man who had been dead for years. Disgust filled her chest. She kicked me several times, but I remained still. Her secretary hurried over, a bad feeling tightening her chest. She pried open my eyelids, shone a penlight into my pupils, and her face drained of all color. "Ma'am, this is bad. We need to call an ambulance for Mr. Harris, now." Susan froze. Dread surged through her. Her hand shook as she fumbled for her phone, dialing 911. "Hello. My son is in trouble. Send your best doctors. The address is—" "What do you mean?" I said as soon as possible. "If anything happens to my son, I'll have your heads." She threw the phone aside and knelt, clutching my limp hand. Her voice trembled, panic cracking her cold mask. "Ethan, wake up. Mommy's here. You're going to be okay." "Mom?" I thought dully. 10 minutes ago, she had wanted me to die in a ditch, unworthy of the family plot. What was she so afraid of now? The ambulance screeched up. Paramedics swarmed inside. One turned to Susan, trying to prepare her. "Ma'am, we'll do everything we can. But you need to prepare yourself." "Prepare myself?" Susan's eyes went wide. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. "What are you trying to say? Say it plainly." The medics didn't answer. They pressed into CPR, one after another, sweat beating as my chest rose and fell under their compressions. Susan followed the ambulance to the hospital, pale as ash. Megan, having gotten the news, was already there, pacing anxiously. "Mom, what did you do to Ethan?" Megan finally snapped. The look they exchanged was explosive. "Are you lecturing me now?" Susan hissed. "It's a reasonable suspicion," Megan shot back. "When Ethan collapsed, only you and your secretary were there. You're getting bold, aren't you?" Susan's temper flared. The hallway rang with their vicious argument, mother and daughter shredding the fragile mask of civility they usually wore. "You old witch. All you ever did was force Ethan into a loveless marriage. You little brat. He's your brother too, and you're even more biased than I am." Their fight broke only when the light above the operating room clicked off. Both turned, their faces white. The surgeon stepped out, grim. The words hit like thunder. Megan screamed, clutching her hair, her eyes hollow. "Impossible. My brother can't be dead." "Nonsense." Susan pushed past, tearing the sheet off my body. My muscles were already stiffening. For the first time in her life, Susan, who had clawed her way to the top of the corporate world, broke down completely. Her eyes went red, tears streaming freely. My son," she wailed, clutching me. "I'm sorry, Ethan. It's all my fault. Please wake up." Megan staggered forward, taking my cold hand in hers and pressing it to her cheek. Her hot tears splashed onto my skin, burning me even in death. "Host," the system whispered in my ear. "What do you predict their regret levels will reach?" I shook my head. I didn't know. Maybe it was just pity for a dead man. As soon as Caleb arrived, they'd forget me like always. And then Caleb and Chloe stepped into the hospital. Chloe froze, sucking in a sharp breath. Beneath her sunglasses, her eyes shimmered with tears. "Chloe," Caleb murmured, gently touching her arm. "I'm fine." She pulled away, putting distance between them. For the first time, she had come for me, not him. Caleb's lip twitched, but he shrugged. "Whatever. No need to compete with a dead man. In the end, all three women will be mine." But Chloe's heart twisted in agony, like a vice crushing it. She forced a pale, brittle smile. "Stop playing around, Ethan. Let's go home. I'm taking you home." Ignoring everyone, Chloe struggled to drag my body toward the exit, step by step. Even with mask and sunglasses, people recognized her. Phones lifted. Pictures spread online instantly. "Delete that. It's not what you think." Caleb snarled, slapping a phone out of a bystander's hand. If news leaked that Chloe had a secret marriage, her career would be wrecked. "Stop!" Megan's voice cut through the air like a knife. "Ethan is my brother. You two are divorced. If anyone is taking him home, it's me. Chloe's eyes widened, her grip on my body tightening as though letting go meant losing me forever. No, we're still in the waiting period. I take it back. I don't agree to the divorce. He's my husband for life. She clung to me desperately, greedily inhaling my scent like an obsessed woman terrified of emptiness. When one spouse dies, the marriage is automatically terminated. Megan was the first to recover her composure. She turned a sharp, cold glare on Caleb, who instantly flinched and stepped back. When you were out there making buzz with him, did you ever once remember Ethan was your husband? You don't deserve to be his wife. Give him back to me. Megan didn't waste time arguing. She simply reached out and took her brother back, firm and decisive. Chloe's blank gaze flickered toward a panicked Caleb. Then suddenly her mind pulled up the words I'd told her in the car. Chloe, after this we're done. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. The man who had loved her so deeply was gone. Gone to another world, leaving her behind. The glamorous actress collapsed against the wall, sliding to the floor, hugging her knees as sobs racked her body. Caleb bent down, trying to comfort her, but she shoved him off, ignoring him completely. At that moment, someone blocked Megan's way. Ma'am, according to the patient's pre-registered wishes, his body is to be donated. We can't release him to the family right now. Susan, who had been silent this entire time, visibly flinched. When did he register? Why didn't I know about this? Megan bit her lip, her voice trembling as it cracked. Today. Susan's eyes widened in dawning horror. She turned her burning glare on Megan, then at Caleb, and snapped in agony. You monster! The sound of her hand slapping Megan's face echoed through the room. He was your brother too. You grew up with him. Megan didn't resist. She silently took the blow, her expression hard. I just had him sign the form. I didn't think he'd actually go through with it himself. What she didn't know was that after leaving Megan's office, I had gone straight to the nearest registration center and completed the process on my own, making it official, ensuring the system wouldn't find a loophole. The three of them stood there, devastated, as my body was wheeled away. In the corner, Caleb smirked, muttering under his breath, finally dead. I floated right in front of him, staring at that handsome face. Caleb Thorne, America's heartthrob, was rotten to the core. He had always been jealous of everything I had. Just like his father before him, he'd conspired with Susan to steal Chloe, fabricated lies about being bullied, and turned my own sister against me. He had fame, fortune, and power, everything a man could dream of. Yet he still chose to have an affair with his sister-in-law. I could never understand him. Meanwhile, the world outside was unraveling. Hashtags about Chloe Vance's secret marriage and divorce exploded across social media. Netizens dug up her entire scandalous history with Caleb Thorne. Chloe Vance cheats. Caleb the homewrecker. Affair drives husband to suicide. Negative hashtags swarmed the trending list. Caleb's PR team scrambled to contain the damage, but Chloe's camp remained silent. She was drowning in grief, unable to respond. At 10 p.m., with less than an hour left on my system clock, the updates arrived. Chloe's current regret level, 85%. Megan's current regret level, 80%. Susan's current regret level, 70%. I braced myself for final erasure. I was so sorry to my real family, so useless. I hadn't even been allowed to see them one last time before my true death. At the mansion, Susan had gathered everyone to discuss funeral arrangements. Caleb sat on the couch, nervously checking his phone every few minutes, panicking over the hashtags. Why aren't they going away? On the balcony, Megan smoked a cigarette, frustration clouding her mind. The organ donation form had just been a test. She had already secured another heart donor for Caleb. What she couldn't stand was Ethan's defiance. Why couldn't he just submit? If he had only called her sister, she would have softened. Why isn't that Vance woman here yet? Susan muttered, looking at the clock. Above it hung the black and white portrait of her late husband. In just days, her son's portrait would hang beside it. A sharp pang of grief slammed into her chest. She had failed him, her husband, her son. Her husband must have known she only married for his wealth. Yet he had trusted her fully, supported her career, given her everything. She hadn't even loved Caleb that much. He was just as manipulative as his father. She had only wanted to erase her past, forget the face she missed day and night. Instead, she had created regrets that would last her entire life. The door suddenly opened. Chloe stormed in. Without a word, she hurled a folder of papers at Caleb. "You liar. You played all of us for fools." Before Caleb could grab it, Megan snatched the folder, scanned the contents, and exploded in rage. "And to think I treated you like a brother. Turns out you're not even related to me." Caleb panicked, lunging for the papers. "No, that's all lies. It's not true, Megan." I floated closer, reading over her shoulder as though I stood beside her. The truth was staggering. Caleb was no blood relation at all. Susan picked up on it instantly, the air in the room dropping to freezing. Caleb trembled, unable to meet anyone's eyes. The internet had been faster than anyone expected. In just hours, they had torn open his life story. First, the truth about the fire on set. Caleb had provoked a powerful producer. Then the bombshell. His congenital heart disease was a complete fabrication, propped up by a doctor who happened to be a relative. That's why Caleb always refused the specialists Megan had tried to hire. Even his mother had been part of it. The three of them had run the scam for years, pocketing sympathy and cash. Online sleuths had even dug up clips from a reality show where Caleb, supposedly gravely ill, chased a co-star across hundreds of yards without breaking a sweat. Then came the story of his father, the homewrecker who drove his first wife to suicide. Like father, like son, the internet spat. Before Caleb had come to live with them, he'd even had plastic surgery. Old photos showed him resembling not Susan at all, but another woman his father had been involved with. Susan went pale, clutching her chest, her face turning red. "Mom, I'm your son. Don't listen to the lies online." Caleb sobbed, reaching toward her. But Megan and Chloe just stared back at him with cold disgust. "The bullying story," Megan said flatly. "You made that up too, didn't you?" She flicked ash from her cigarette, then without hesitation pressed the burning tip against Caleb's arm. He screamed, drenched in cold sweat. I had the same burn mark, from when Caleb had framed me for stealing and begged Megan to teach me a lesson. Megan kicked him aside, dropping the cigarette with dead eyes. She shouldn't have believed his lies. She should have believed the few classmates who had tried to defend me. "My brother. I'm so sorry," she whispered. Everyone froze. The system's cheerful chime cut through the silence. "Congratulations, host. Megan Miller's regret level has reached 100%. I stared at her broken figure, my feelings tangled and heavy. "You're just as worthless as he was. Get out, both of you. Get out." Susan was heaving, her breathing ragged. She grabbed Caleb, dragging him out the door. The same words she had once used to hurt me, Susan now hurled at Caleb. Caleb, looking utterly pathetic and knowing it was over, finally dropped the act. "TCH, and who are you to judge? You abandoned your own husband and son. I can't believe I ever called you mom. Why did he get to marry Chloe Vance while I got stuck with some boring nerd?" Susan's heart cracked at the insult. That nerd was a PhD from a good family, a man of impeccable character. What chilled her to the bone was that Caleb knew every detail of the marriage she had been arranging for him. His cunning was deeper than she had ever imagined. Even though Susan had doted on him, she had still planned to use him in a power marriage to solidify the company's position. But Caleb's tirade didn't stop. His words cut like knives. Susan frowned in pain, a wave of dizziness washing over her. Megan rushed back to steady her. "Mom!" The system's voice rang out. "Congratulations, host. Susan Miller's regret level has reached 100%. The Miller mansion fell into deathly silence. 5 minutes left. I followed Chloe as she left. She threw everything Caleb had ever left in her car out the window. Then, as if remembering something, she flipped down the passenger side sun visor. A black tie clip fell out. I had put it there after we were married, telling her with a smile that it was my way of checking if any other men had been in her car. Caleb was always impeccably dressed for their meetings. The signs had been there all along, so obvious, and I had chosen to ignore them. Chloe collapsed onto the steering wheel, sobbing uncontrollably. Congratulations, host. Chloe Vance's regret level has reached 100%. The next second I opened my eyes. I saw the familiar faces of my parents. They were hugging me, their cheeks wet with tears of joy. Son, you're finally awake. Oh, thank God. We missed you so much. I lifted my arms, feeling their warmth for the first time in so long. Tears of joy streamed down my own face. After everything, I was finally home. The system's voice grew faint. Congratulations, host. Mission accomplished. $2 million appeared in my bank account. Back with my family, I began to live a quiet, happy life. The system would occasionally check in, updating me on their fates. Trapped in a public relations nightmare, the Miller Family Corporation was mismanaged and quickly went bankrupt. Unable to handle the dual collapse of her family and her business, Susan suffered a massive stroke that left her partially paralyzed. Megan now works odd jobs to pay off their debts and cover Susan's medical bills. As disgraced celebrities, Chloe and Caleb were blacklisted from the entertainment industry, their careers wiped away. I heard Chloe was plagued by nightmares of me every single night. Eventually, she joined a convent to atone for her sins. As for Caleb, after he and his father were thrown out, he relied on his looks to find a new benefactor. This time, he became the boy toy for a woman in her 60s. Pathetically, he even sent secret love letters to that boring nerd he had once mocked. She had long since forgotten he existed and was happily married to someone else. Caleb had been dealt a winning hand and played it into ruin. Goodbye, host, the system said its final farewell. Goodbye, I whispered back, for good.